film opening, I use several conventions that are typical of the crime and suspense genre. Crime films often begin with a serious or disturbing event that immediately captures the audience's attention. In my opening, I use a flashback montage of a kidnapping to establish the narrative and create tension. Quick cuts and the close-up shots of the blindfold and tied hands and dark lighting are common techniques used in crime films to create suspense and fear. This follows Steve Nill's idea of repetition, where familiar genres conventions are repeated so the audience can easily recognize the crime genre. Another convention I use is restricted narration, where the audience does not know everything that happened. The audience also sees the fragment of kidnapping and does not know who the criminals are and why the victim is being kidnapped. This creates mystery and encourages the audience to keep watching in order to discover the truth. I also use low-key lighting and an unfinished construction building as the location, which are typical in crime films because they create an isolated and dangerous atmosphere. The elements again demonstrate repetition of common crime genre conventions. However, my project also slightly challenges the conventions, showing Steve Nill's concept of differentiation. However, in many crime films, the main focus is on police officers or detectives solving the crime. In my film opening, the focus is on the victim and his psychological trauma after escaping the kidnapping. This shifts the narrative perspective and allows the audience to understand the emotional effect of crime rather than its investigation, creating something new within the genre. In terms of representation, my film represents young adults, particularly someone who has experienced trauma. Mark Carter is a 19-year-old student, which represents a younger demographic that audience can relate to. Instead of portraying the victim as completely helpless, my project shows as someone who survives the situation, which challenges the stereotype that victims in crime films are usually powerless. The film also represents the social issue of kidnapping and psychological impact. Crime is not only about action and violence, but also about emotional consequences for victims. By showing Noah remembering the event and reacting nervously to the phone call, the film opening highlights how traumatic experience can affect someone's mental state even years later. Overall, my project follows Steve Nill's theory of repetition and difference by using familiar crime conventions such as suspense, mystery, and dark settings, while also offering a different perspective by focusing on victim psychological trauma. This allows the film opening to feel recognizable but also original. Thank you.